Okay, so today we're going to talk about title search. How do you read title search? Okay. A lot of people don't know what title search does or what title search mean to a realtor. So it's actually the most important thing for our transaction is title search. Because title search tells you who's the real owner and what are the restrictions for the land. So in the title search, you will see on top who is the owner on title. Sometimes you'll find when you sign a listing agreement, right? You sign with one people, and later on when you pull title search, you'll find two people on the title. Husband or wife or partners, investment partners. Then what happens, right? And also sometimes more critical, it's a company name. Is the person signed contract with you, is he a director? Does he have the authorization to sign the agreement? You don't know that, right? So that's why you have to have a title search to find out who is the real owner of the property. Okay? If you find out the person you signed contract with is not the only owner, then you have to do more work to make the contract legit. Okay? So in the title search, make sure the name on title is same as the person signing the contract. That's number one. And there are two different tenancies. There are actually more than two, but mostly we're gonna talk about these two tenancies. One you will see is as joint tenant. Okay? A joint tenant will have a right called survivalship. Survivalship of ownership means if the person, one of them passes away, so all of the ownership shares will transfer to the other person automatically. Okay? So for example, if you sign a listing agreement and you see two people on title, but one of them has passed away, died, okay? That means the other owner owns 100% share of the property if they can provide a deceased certificate. Okay? A deceased certificate means the person died, a proof of death. Okay? Then you can use that to sign the listing agreement and sell the property for them. Otherwise, if they don't have a proof the person is dead, you cannot sign this listing agreement because there are two owners, unless they have a POA, power of attorney, right? And the shares can be 50-50 or 1/99 or whatever share they want. Okay, that's joint tenant. Joint tenant you will find under the name joint tenant. Another one is called tenant in common. Tenant in common is different from joint tenant. That tenant in common is more like a company. It's like a share, right? If your shares are 50-50, if one person died, he owns the 50%, then this 50% will not automatically given to the other party. Okay? It'll become an estate, pass on to his, a will or children or spouse or whoever has the right to claim the estate. So same thing, the shares can be any share amount that you agreed upon, right? 30, 20, 50, makes 100. It could be 5 people, could be 4 people, So those are different tendencies you have to watch out for, okay? Another thing is charges, liens, and interests. Normally in a title search, you will see easement, encroachment, right of way, litigation, covenant, mortgage, liens, and more. There are some other stuff that you don't normally see, maybe some air right or under service right, stuff like that. So these are the most common things you will see in a title search. This is what a title search looks like. Okay, on the top it says Prince George, and down there it says application received and then the owner's name. Here you'll say who owns the property and what is their profession. And then taxation, it says Caribou Assessment Area. And then down here it says legal notations. Normally we don't really look at legal notations, we'll look at the next one, charges, liens, and interest. We'll look at this one because all the restrictions and everything are in here, okay? And I have a copy of title search. So a real title search looks like this, okay? For example, this one, it'll say the person's name. You see it says businesswoman, right? It says businesswoman. And their address. So, like last week we talked about title search. If you want to find the real owner's address, go to title search because it'll show the address. You can find where the owners are. And down here, you see covenant, statutory right of way, right? And then for other stuff, it's none. I mean, it's clean, right? So normally, if you see statutory right of way, if it's a Richmond City or BC Hydro or whatever, then you don't have to worry about because there's nothing you can do about it. And in case, if your client, if you're representing a buyer, you want to find out where the locations of the right of ways are, you have to find out from the city or GIS map, find out the location. In case you want to dig a pool, swimming pool at the backyard, right? You have to find out where are the right of way. So before you dig, you can say, oh, I have enough space in the backyard so I can put a pool there. If you don't need a pool, then don't worry about right of way because there's nothing you can do about it. But you can find out the location, right? And if you pull the detail, it looks like this. It won't give you too much information. It's just a certificate that shows the detail of the registration. It looks like this. Not much information, not even a diagram. It won't show you where the right of way is. Alright. Another one is called covenant. Covenant has more information in it. Covenant, it'll show what was the covenant about. So in this case, there are 6 pages about the covenant that you have to read about. Make sure there's no recent covenant restricting the property from doing something else. So you see here it says Buckingham Creek runs adjacent to the land. So it's talking about a creek beside the land. So it may affect the building area of the land if there's a creek. They have a setback of how many feet you have to build away from the creek. So that will affect the value of the land. Alright? So that is why you need to look into it. Let's look into easement. So an easement is generally gives one landowner the right to use the neighbor's property for the purpose defined in the easement. Easement may also use to provide municipality access to run underground sewer, cable lines, or such as other items. These charges are non-financial charges, meaning there's no money owing to the owner of the land to the charge holder. Also, the charge runs with the land, so it will remain on title following the sale to a new purchaser. This means that the obligation under this charge will be binding on all future owners. So if you have an easement on your title, that means it's gonna be on there forever. Okay? Nobody will be able to do anything with it. So you just have to find out what the easement is. Okay? So normally for easement, it looks like this on a diagram. Okay? The easement normally are from city or utilities, they will put the easement beside the borderline of your property. They won't put it in the middle. They will normally either put it in the front or the backyard. Okay, so look at the dot lines. Those are the easements. Normally they are either sewers or electrical lines, stuff like that. So you have to look into where the easements are, and they will tell you how many feet from the rear border. Like normally they'll say 10 feet, right? If it's a really big lot, they'll say 20 feet. So you have to find out where are the easement. So you as a buyer's agent, your responsibility is to find out for your buyer where the easements are. Okay. You don't want any surprises, especially if you're doing like Burnaby North. There are pipelines running underground. You know pipelines, right?
For oil.
Yeah, for oil. You'll be surprised how many pipelines are there running underground. So many. So you have to know where the easements are. Okay. The next one will be right of way. Similar to easement, but its right of way usually are from the city, hydro company, and gas company, telecommunication company, etc. It grants them the right to access the land for installation or repairs. So the diagram you saw here could be a city, could be from utility company or any other company. So find out and tell your client, here's your easement. You cannot build anything on top of it, okay? Sometimes, you know, when there's pipeline, it could run through the backyard. So if you have that case, your client has to know about it and they cannot dig, right? If they want to put a swimming pool there, you better change a different land because this land they cannot do it. There's a pipeline underground.
Charles, how to find this picture?
You can go to GIS map or go to City Hall.
What's the difference between easement and right of way then?
Yeah, easement and right of way, they're very similar. So right of way are normally from the city and utility, right? So it looks like that. And this one is another picture. It's called right of way. Right of way means it could be from the neighbor. It could also be from neighbor right of way. For example, there could be a driveway in between the land here, this A and B, right? I've sold a property in Vancouver West Side where a developer bought a land and they subdivided into two. And they put a driveway in between to go to access to the garage in the back. So this driveway is actually shared between owner A and owner B. In between this way is called right of way because both owner has the right to use this part of land. Okay, so that's how they go. And this land, this row here, is the dominant tenant and service tenant. So for this land, they will have a right of way and also easement on their land. And you'll show where's the easement where the next door tenant behind you, they can use your land here to access to the main road, right? If you don't allow them to use this, they cannot get to their home because the main road is here. They have to cross your land in order to get to their home. Yeah.
I'm curious for that gas line and the pipe line.
Yeah.
That is the easement or that is the right of way. Sometimes like there's a gas line should be the right of way.
Right of way.
But how about the pipe line in the north?
The same thing. It's mostly right of way.
So that will just show in the GIS.
It'll show on the GIS map where the locations are. Yeah, and also you can go to City Hall and ask them.
But did you hear about that? The pipe lines in the concrete there that is changing the project route, or that is the update one? We just get that.
Well, normally the GIS map is updated by the City Hall. So it should be the most up-to-date information you could get. But to be secure, you still have to go to City Hall to verify. As a buyer's agent, it is your due diligence to do the research. Okay, everything is the buyer's agent responsibility. So if anything happens, you'll be the one to blame. Yeah. So if you know it, oh, don't be lazy. Or maybe I can find the information here, but just to make sure, go to City Hall and find out more details, or call them, right? So this is a right-of-way and also easement, right? So they have to use another owner's land, right? Encroachment is something really frustrates people. So it is a property built on top of next door neighbor's land, and buyer agent due diligence is to that buyer can carefully review a subdivision plan showing the die. So BC Land Survey, they charge you a lot of money to do a survey. But if sometimes City Hall has land survey in their record, but sometimes they don't. So if they don't have a record in the City Hall, then if you really need a survey, then you have to hire somebody to do the survey. Survey probably costs you anywhere from $800 to $1,000 maybe, or sometimes even more depending on how big the land is. Okay, and buyer can obtain a homeowner's title insurance policy, and that we'll talk later. Okay. So this is what an encroachment looks like. This building on top of parcel A could be a house, could be a garage, or could be a swimming pool, right? So before they thought the fence is here, so they built a house on top. But now what happens is they find out that the property line is actually here. So now building is already built, or anything, garage or swimming pool is already built. What do? There's probably two ways to do it. Buy it with a lot of money, and a lot of times they won't want to sell it to you, because if they sell it to you, their land becomes really small, they can do nothing about it. Then if you go to court, guess what the court will say? Tear down the building, remove the swimming pool. So as a buyer's agent, you should always go to City Hall if you're not sure about the property line. If you see, oh, my garage or the garage or the pool is so close to the border, you know, it's a signal, right? Why are they building it so close to the fence? It might be a problem. Like, you know, the city of Vancouver actually once said, okay, for this street, everybody move your borderline 2 feet to your right. Okay, after the movement, 2 feet, now you have an encroachment. So when you buy something for your client, if you see something, a garage or swimming pool that's really close to the fence, go to the city and find out if there's any encroachment. Make sure of that. Otherwise, when you bought it, your client said, oh, I have to spend $70,000 to remove my swimming pool. Who's gonna pay for that? Probably they're gonna sue you, because they know, the lawyer knows, you have insurance to cover, right? I'm gonna sue you. So be careful. Covenant. A covenant generally imposes either a negative or positive condition of the property, and often contain restrictions on building or other uses in favor of the municipality or the province. This is a non-financial charge, so this you don't owe any money to anyone. Okay, so normally the city will have a restriction, or the provincial has a restriction of the land, what you can do. So you have to read about it and see if you're planning to tear down the building, you know, if it's a heritage or a character building, you have to be careful. You have to search, call the City Hall, and find out if this property is a heritage or a character building. This happens a lot in Vancouver, actually. In Vancouver, there's a lot of buildings are 80 years old, 100 years old, they may not be heritage, but they're character. If they're character, then you have to follow the rules on construction for character properties. So that you have to be careful. And also litigation. You will see probably litigation not so often on a house. You probably see this a lot in a strata. Strata happens a lot. For example, someone was walking in front of your building and broke their arm. They're gonna sue the strata for the medication and for the work they couldn't do, they lost income, right? Because I saw a case where I was doing a Town deal. The building has a litigation, and then later when I read it, it was somebody who was walking or playing skateboard or riding a bike. Someone broke their arm in front of this building, so they sued the building, Strata Corporation, and they actually won.
Ooh.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
Insurance will pay.
Insurance has to pay. But insurance, you know,
next year
they'll increase.
Insurance.
Yes, and also sometimes a strata owner could be suing the strata corporation for some purpose, some reason. They're not happy, right? There may be litigation suing against the strata corporation. So you have to look out for that. But mostly it's against strata corporation, so you don't really have to worry about it. So you just have to find out how serious is the litigation. Is it gonna cost strata corporation a lot of money or just a little bit of money? That will affect your maintenance fee next year, maybe, because the insurance will be different. Mortgage. If you see a land title with 4 mortgage on it, what does it mean?
You owe money to the bank. For people.
Not only to the bank, but to some private lenders as well. In that case, what happens? The landowner must be paying a lot of interest, right? So when you make an offer, what do?
Just cut the price.
More easy on negotiation, right, Richard?
I heard that there's something where you can hold the mortgage.
Oh, doesn't matter. You can guess, right? If it's a private mortgage, the interest rate is anywhere from 8 to 10% or more. If they're lucky, they can get 5, right?
First one will be a bank, the second.
Yeah, first one, they'll show you, right? They'll show you where is the mortgage from. It's from RBC, BMO, right? They'll tell you. So those banks are the first mortgage. Yes?
So which one is the first or the second mortgage?
Well, it says on top.
It's
registered.
It's registered date, right?
Yeah, registration date.
It doesn't matter how the mortgage big, like 2,000 and 3,000, right? It just depends
on the date.
The date.
Yeah.
And the lawyer will take care of this. So we just need to know.
Yeah, you just need to know, because this would be a negotiation bargain chip for yourself. If you see he has so many mortgage, then you know he needs money.
What about builder? New home. The builder has a lot of liens.
Oh, liens? You don't have to worry about liens. Liens means the money that they owe to other party.
When the
Liens.
they have to pay it off.
The property owner who owes money to other people, who puts a lien on the title to prevent the property from transaction until the money is paid. So plumber, electrician, framers, a builder normally have a lien. So if you're buying a brand new property, then you have to have a subject clause, a holdback, for 55 days after completion. Because a lien, a contractor, after what they call a major completion, after that, 55 days, within the 55 days, they can put a lien on the property if they are owed money to.
How much can we hold back?
You can hold back, let's say 10%, 20%, depend.
What if they really overbuild or they want a really high price, and then plus the building cost and really losing money? How do we know?
Well, you just have to hold that percentage, like 10%, 20%. So normally nobody will do the job for free. They must be paid partially. Normally it's the last payment that they didn't pay. If they didn't pay the first few payment, they won't work, right? It's only the last payment they're owing to.
So once we just got out of title search, you have the building name.
Yeah.
So maybe the better way we can just give that an offer, but with that clause you said just holding back to 55 days. That should be better. Or we have to.
Well, depend. If it's a brand new property, then you ask him what is the date on your occupancy permit. Normally, the date on occupancy permit is the day when they start the 55 days. If the occupancy permit is from 2 months ago, you know, then you wouldn't have to worry about so much because it's already past 55 days.
How could we tell from the title for that?
Well, you ask the seller for occupancy permit. They have to give you a copy of that anyways because it's brand new, right?
Once that is a renovation or remodel, not a
No.
brand new one.
Unless they're doing major renovation, then they will need an occupancy permit. If it's a small one, they won't need occupancy permit.
Excuse me, the major renovations are still need occupancy permit?
Yes, yes. Because you have to apply building permit to the city, right? If you're just doing paintings, you don't need. If you're just changing floors, you don't need, right? But if you're doing a lot of renovation in the house, you need permits. So if you tear down the whole building inside and did a major reno, then of course they're gonna have to issue you a occupancy permit, right? So in that case, you'll have to look at. Yeah, if you're a buyer, if you see a lot of renovation in an old house, you better go to City Hall and check if they have any permit. A lot of times, you know, you find out the building plan, the registered one, and this one are totally two different. This year we had an agent who bought a property for a client, okay? The city asked the client to restore it to a condition that's like 10 years ago, to reduce the size of the house. So it happens. So you better go to City Hall and find out from the city if it's an old house. You better go to City Hall, find out from the city if they did a major change. If they did a major change, then you find out if they have a permit. If they don't have a permit, then you have to let your client know there's a potential risk they have to take. If the city doesn't care, nobody complains, then it's okay, they continue to use the property. But then when they sell it, it could cause another problem because the next agent may also go to City Hall and find out that this building was done renovation without permit. So there's a lot of things a buyer agent has to look out for. If you're buying old properties, look out. If you buy a new property, look out for the liens, right? That's why in my clause, I added, if you accept my offer, then you authorize me to go to City Hall to pull those records. Because I want to find out for my client, if you did anything without permit, I have to know, right?